In 2015, on her YouTube channel, Pamela Montenegro started speaking out against the corrupt Mexican government and cartels. She soon discovered she'd made a big mistake, which she paid for with her life. Here are 5-time streamers messed with the wrong cartels. In 2017, Juan Rosales made a daring video of himself mocking El Mencho. What he didn't know is that video would come back to haunt him. Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales was born in Sinaloa, Mexico, a place known for its beautiful beaches and vibrant culture. But we all know it's also the place of notorious drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. And as a child, Lagunas was left with his grandmother by his mom, and he never knew his father. At 15, he moved to Culiacan, where he worked washing cars to support himself. Despite the challenges, Lagunas found solace in his new community. He started attending parties and soon became known as El Pirata de Culiacan, or the Pirate of Culiacan. His fun-loving personality and entertaining videos on social media quickly made him a local celebrity. People loved watching him have fun and be himself. He started landing invitations to more and more parties, and soon became a regular on the social scene.
Él era Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales, mejor conocido como el Pirata de Culiacán. Un joven de 17 años quien se hizo famoso en redes sociales desde hace 2 años.
As his online presence grew, so did his opportunities. He started appearing in music videos and promotional events, charming audiences with his youthful energy and playful antics. And as a result, Lagunas soon fell into a life of excessive drinking. He would post videos on social showing him chugging beer and bottles of whiskey, sometimes getting so drunk he'd black out. Unexpectedly, these videos started going viral. His social media skyrocketed, with over 1 million followers on Facebook and 300,000 on Instagram. He then became a beloved influencer, known for his humor and good vibes. Lagunas became a known face on the internet. That people seem to forget, he was not yet of legal age. He continued to post pictures and videos on Instagram, showing off his signature style and adventurous spirit. He grew a beard to look a little older and tattooed his arms with a pirate and a tiger. Lagunas also started posting controversial photos that didn't sit well with people, most especially since he was only 17. These pics had him with guns, luxury cars, and scantily clad women. In fact, these pictures made people think he was involved with Mexican drug cartels, but that wasn't true. However, a meeting with Beto Sierra, a social media expert, changed everything for Lagunas. Sierra encouraged Juan to move away from posting alcoholic-centric content and explore more profitable ventures. After that meeting, Lagunas tried his best to start a new life and started selling his own merchandise. He even tried singing, but despite these efforts, his troubles were far from over, and sooner than expected, his world came crashing down. Although the drinking age in Mexico is 18, El Pirata de Culiacan went back to posting videos of him drinking lots of alcohol. Like many teenagers filling up with liquid courage, he felt invincible and would often speak his mind without thinking twice. But in a place like Sinaloa, where violence and crime are rampant, being reckless with your tongue can have a serious consequence. After a series of daring statements, Juan Luis soon found himself in trouble after making a disrespectful comment about a powerful drug lord, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, aka El Mencho. If you don't know who El Mencho is, he was once a policeman and is now the leader of New Generation Cartel of Jalisco. Those who know this guy in Mexico know that he's not a man to be toyed with, and we'll tell you why. This guy's the most wanted person in Mexico, and one of the most wanted in the US. He's responsible for killing at least 15 police officers in an ambush in Jalisco in 2015, and the mass execution of civilians in various states of Mexico. Born July 17, 1966, Cervantes came from a farming family with 6 siblings. Despite his humble beginnings, he chose a different path in life, one that led him down a dangerous and deadly road. El Mencho started small, doing odd jobs for bigger criminal groups at just 14. He later moved back to the US, where he continued his criminal activities until he was arrested and deported back to Mexico. Back in Mexico, he joined the police force before he would decide to go into a life of crime. And at this time, he joined the powerful Milenio cartel as a hitman and eventually worked his way up the ranks, managing drug deals, money, and violence in several states. After a few years, he would take control of half the group and rename it Jalisco New Generation Cartel. Under El Mencho's leadership, The cartel became one of the most feared criminal organizations in the world, using advanced weapons and equipment that rivaled those of the Mexican military. Currently, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel is considered one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in Mexico, and the second most powerful drug cartel after Sinaloa. Now, this cartel is also associated with several kidnappings and torture of both rival cartel members and anyone who crosses them. In fact, the US government as well as the Mexican government is offering $10 million and $30 million respectively for any information leading to the arrest of El Mencho. In 2017, a drunk and intoxicated Juan Rosales made a video of himself mocking this same El Mencho, saying something that would later come back to haunt him. After the video was posted online, little did Juan Rosales know his words had severe repercussions after it went viral. El Mencho wasn't a man to be trifled with, and Lagunas had just made a very dangerous enemy. In a region where drug cartels hold immense power, the streamer had just painted a target on his back. His fate was now in the hands of one of Mexico's most feared drug lords. December 18, 2017, around 11 p.m., Lagunas was at a bar in Jalisco partying with his friends when a group of armed individuals bursted in and fired on him. Lagunas was shot no less than 15 times and died on the spot. A 25-year-old waiter also got hit in the crossfire and died later in the hospital. In fact, due to the severity of the gunshot wounds, Mexican authorities were unable to identify Lagunas until they saw his tattoos. While prosecutors are yet to determine the identities or motives of those responsible, they confirmed that the reason for the attack was most likely the videotaped insult towards El Mencho.
Hola, yo soy la Nana Pelucas, para quienes no me conocen, y para los que ya me conocen, pues saben que me encanta.
December 4th, 2016, Pamela Montenegro received a deadly threat from the independent cartel of Acapulco, but she didn't take it too seriously. Now, this cartel doesn't just make threats lightly, as she soon came to realize. On June 15th, 2012, Leslie Ann Pamela Montenegro del Real started her online news magazine, El Sillon. But before that, she was an actress in a local TV show for young people. In 2015, she began making satirical videos that she posted on YouTube.
Quien ordenó el crimen fue un grupo liderado por Javi Daniel Cervantes El Barbas, opositor al cártel independiente de Acapulco, liderado por José Ángel Palacios El Capuchino. El fiscal dice no.
In these videos, she played a funny character named La Nana Pelucas, meaning the grandma in wigs, and she would wear a curly wig and big glasses. La Nana Pelucas often made jokes about politics, talked about culture, and also did beauty tutorials. She would use these videos to speak out against corruption and violence in her home state of Guerrero. She would criticize local officials, organized crime, and cartels in general, which was especially dangerous in Acapulco, as it was one of the most deadliest cities in Mexico. Now, Pamela's work was important to her, and she ran a Facebook page with her husband, Samuel Muñoz-Uri, where they shared information and news with their community. However, Pamela was beginning to step on several toes, and she knew it when threats started coming in. This all began when she started poking at the independent cartel of Acapulco. This cartel's mysterious and secretive in Mexico. They only operate in the shadows, evading detection and accountability. But despite their stealthy nature, their effect could be felt, as they were responsible for hundreds of homicides in Acapulco and were a significant contributor to the town's violence. The cartel's secrecy made them hard to track, but their impact on the town's crime rate was undeniable. So on December 4th, 2016, a series of narcomantas, also known as banners carrying messages attributed to organized crime, were placed around Acapulco, containing threats aimed at several people, including Pamela and her husband. Now, the banners also mentioned a Facebook page named Denuncias Acapulco Sin Censura, on which citizens could report crime, violence, corruption, and abuse of power by the authorities. The banner claimed that Pamela was one of the page's administrators and warned her to take the page down if she didn't want to be dealt with. Despite these deadly threats, Pamela refused to back down and continued streaming her videos on YouTube, and also kept her Facebook page running.
Y en Guerrero fue asesinada en la zona turística de Acapulco la youtuber Pamela Montenegro, quien se hacía llamar la Nana Peluca.
February 5th, 2018, Pamela was in her restaurant, A Todos Los Santos, in the city of Acapulco. Between 6 and 7 p.m., 2 unidentified gunmen suddenly entered the restaurant and walked straight to where Pamela was sitting with her husband. And without warning, they opened fire at her and shot her at least twice in the face and stomach, killing her on the spot. Now, they didn't wait to check if she was dead, as they escaped immediately. On August 28, 2018, local media in Acapulco reported that a suspect in the murder of Montenegro was arrested 1 day earlier in a hotel located on the city's coastal boulevard. According to the reports, citing unspecified law enforcement sources, the suspect was nicknamed El Rusito, meaning the Little Russian, and he's been involved in a series of violent crimes in the city. However, despite that arrest, the Committee to Protect Journalists listed the case as unsolved 3 months later and considered one of the local leaders, or most likely one of the cartels, Pamela often criticized as the prime suspect for the murder. One obvious, undeniable fact was that this committee was careful not to mention the independent cartel of Acapulco specifically, out of fear of meeting the same fate. February 22, 2024, Fofo Marquez physically assaulted a helpless woman during a road rage incident. This incident would catch the attention of a deadly cartel, causing Marquez to run for his life. July 15, 1997 marked the birth of Rodolfo Marquez, aka Fofo Marquez, a Mexican social media sensation. Growing up, his life was far from ordinary, with a grandfather who crafted shoes for Mexico's elite and a father who co-owned Total gas stations before his passing. While his family background remains largely private, one thing was clear: Fofo's wealth and privilege paved the way for his online fame. With a flair for the extravagant, Fofo's social media persona showcases his love for luxurious cars and high-end clubbing. His Instagram following skyrocketed to over 3 million, earning him the title of an influencer among Gen Z. Yet, Fofo's thirst for fame didn't stop there. Seeking new horizons, he would venture into TikTok, where he built a loyal fan base, but also stumbled into controversy. And just like almost every TikToker on the planet who is subjected to pulling stunts and posting daily videos to keep their followers entertained, Fofo did the same. July 7th, 2022. Fofo pulls a stunt that would spark outrage and put his life in danger thanks to a massive ego and a desire for attention. Now, this reckless decision would put him in the crosshairs of Mexico's notorious New Jalisco Generation Cartel. On this particular day, Fofo took 3 luxury cars and parked them right in the middle of the Matute Remus Bridge in Guadalajara, Mexico. Then he came down from one of the cars and began filming the traffic that was building up right behind him. This guy even contemplated doing a few TikTok dances while innocent people were denied access to the bridge. Fofo posted on TikTok, and it wouldn't take long for that video to go viral. A lot of people were disgusted with Fofo, raining insults at him for his nonchalance and stupidity. In addition to the online insults, the mayor of Guadalajara was furious and threatened to take legal action against Fofo. Consequently, TikTok banned his account, removed the controversial video within 48 hours, and then Fofo apologized for his immature behavior on other platforms and requested forgiveness from those affected. The mayor accepted his apology but told him to perform community service, cleaning up the same bridge he'd blocked. With no other option, Fofo had to comply. But just as the controversy seemed to die down, Fofo's chapter with the CJNG was only just getting started as the cartel sent Fofo a message, which quickly went viral on social media. The message came from this anonymous account that had been affiliated with the CJNG, called Gente con la Gente NG, or People with the New Generation. The message was written in Spanish, but it roughly translates to this: Hello to all the people of Guadalajara. We are the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. As you might know, the influencer or back Fofo Marquez dared to obstruct the flow of traffic on the Matute Remus Bridge, which is an act that we don't tolerate. We will not allow this animal to get away with this. We are in charge of Jalisco and all of Mexico. We would not allow you to come to Guadalajara and do this type of thing. If you ever step in Guadalajara, not you nor your money would save you from us. When he got that message, Fofo was terrified. He knew that no one could protect him from the cartel trying to kill or kidnap him. This fear was real, and Fofo knew that the CJNG wasn't a group to be taken lightly, as they didn't just make threats they didn't intend to carry out. And as soon as that message spread, Fofo's life changed dramatically. He quickly apologized to the CJNG online and fled to his parents' mansion in Mexico, seeking safety. However, soon he realized that even the mansion couldn't provide complete security. The family had hired armed guards to protect the house 24/7, but Fofo knew that this probably wasn't enough. This guy was so scared he couldn't leave the house for days. He stayed away from the windows and even carried a transceiver with him in case of danger. This was his life for months, until he finally found the courage to return back to normal. Now, anyone would have thought this streamer must have learned his lesson to never get in the bad books of any cartel ever again, but Fofo here seems to be a trouble magnet. February 22, 2024, CCTV picks up Fofo as he physically assaults a woman during a road rage incident at the mall in the central city of Naucalpan. It was later revealed that the unknown woman had accidentally hit the side mirror of the vehicle that he was sitting in, but as she offered to settle that dispute through her insurance provider, Fofo physically punches her several times until she falls and then kicks her while she's on the ground defenseless. Now, while some men confronted him on the spot, Fofo managed to escape in his car. Thankfully, the woman received assistance from bystanders, who wiped that blood off her face with water and a tissue and offered to take her to the hospital. According to her, she believed Fofo assaulted her because he thought she was going to leave the scene of the minor accident. Now, on April 4th, 2024, Fofo was arrested by the State of Mexico's prosecutor's office in coordination with the state and municipal police of Naucalpan, and was charged with the crime of attempted femicide. Now, his arrest was nothing compared to the frightening message he got from an unknown cartel. In the same month, people in the Infonavit Panamericano neighborhood discovered a white card next to a human head with bloodstains on the Rosas Magallon bypass. This white card was a narco message directly addressed to the 26-year-old influencer. The message on the card was written in Spanish, but roughly translates as follows: "If you touch a woman again, the same thing will happen to you and your family. In Tijuana, Mexico City, Guadalajara, or wherever you may be, you damn brat, Fofo Marquez. Sincerely, the ones from home." After Fofo received that deadly threat, he was immediately taken to the penitentiary and social reintegration center of Tlalnepantla for his safety, as he had once again messed with the wrong cartel.
¿Qué show, mi gente? Feliz inicio de semana para todos. Ya se nos acabaron las vacaciones a los que pudimos tener vacaciones, plebada. Ahora sí, a chingarle. Yo aquí vengo a hacer vueltas a los bancos a ver qué tal.
April 18th, 2022, Jorge Louise uploaded a video on Instagram and casually mentioned his location. How could he have known that this live stream would turn into the biggest mistake of his life? 2021, Jorge Louise, also known as El Compa Jorge.
Solamente es un favor de que le quiero pedir. A ver, morro, dice, ¿qué quieres? ¿Qué favor quieres? Le dije, si me vas a matar, le dije.
2021, Jorge Louise, also known as El Compa Jorge, shared a terrifying experience that changed his life forever. This guy had been kidnapped by cartel members, leaving him traumatized and struggling with his mental health. For months, as he struggled to cope with the trauma, Jorge was too afraid to leave his house, fearing for his safety, even stopping at red lights.
Este yetito lo están rifando, dice. Yo no rí ni parece como que trae el bochito. Vaya, ya mi compa.
Before this harrowing experience, Jorge had a YouTube channel of over 62,000 subscribers, where he shared his passion for cars and UTVs in Cacan. He started with simple vlogs and storytime videos, but eventually would focus on expensive cars and his collection. However, his flashy lifestyle would attract unwanted attention from violent cartels. In addition to that, those cartels also suspected him of having some connections to El Chapo and the notorious Sinaloa cartel. In one of his vlogs on his channel, Jorge went back to where he was kidnapped, even though he was scared about talking about it. On this fateful day in 2021, Jorge's life took a terrifying turn, and he would talk about how one night he was hanging out with a friend when things went really wrong. His friend asked for a favor to give someone else a ride, and Jorge agreed because he's kind and helpful. He couldn't have known that this favor would have almost cost him his life. Now, as they drove, Jorge started feeling more and more uneasy, especially because he'd been drinking earlier. So he would stop his car to use the bathroom, but before he even got out, another car pulls up, and a man with a rifle claims to be from the authorities. This man takes Jorge's phone and, with his accomplices, tied him up, blindfolded him, and interrogated him about his source of income. Jorge truthfully explained that he owned a tortilla shop and a YouTube channel, but his captors didn't believe him. They thought he must have been connected to a dangerous cartel to afford such a nice car. Despite Jorge's repeated denials, though, they threatened him, hit him with a gun, and taunted him to show that they were in control. So desperate and scared, Jorge begged him to leave his body where his family could find it if they were planning on killing him. Surprisingly, that plea worked. His captors released him, removing his blindfold and untying him. Things would return to normal for Jorge after a while, until he would begin his car vlogs and start investigating some cartel's business. In fact, this guy would go to share a storytime video about the time he unknowingly talked to one of El Chapo's sons. And once again, that video attracted the attention of rival cartels. While Jorge's channel was doing well, it didn't last. On April 18, 2022, at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Jorge announced to his 30,000 followers on Instagram that he was just returning from a particular bank. In this video, he had gone to investigate the queue at that bank due to a holiday. 45 minutes after he uploaded that video, gunmen intercept him in a gray Toyota SUV, just as he was about to enter his house located on Gilberto Owen Street, between Juan Ruiz del Aracon and Jose Vasconcelos Streets, a site that is 2 blocks from the 9th Military Zone of Culiacan, Sinaloa. Without warning, they opened fire and then escaped in their car. Witnesses wasted no time as they called the authorities and an ambulance. Jorge was badly hurt, having several gunshot wounds. Although paramedics tried really hard to save his life, sadly, his injuries were too severe. He died in that ambulance on the way to the hospital, and the doctors there confirmed DOA. According to speculations, people think that Jorge made a mistake by staying in the same area after his kidnapping. The police also suspected that the gunmen were from rival cartels of the Sinaloa group. And despite the suspicions, Compa Jorge's killers are still out there, and the police have yet to solve the case. August 2022, popular YouTuber Ruben Ortega was shot dead in front of his family. But it was soon discovered that there was more to his assassination than just the tip of a dark conspiracy.
Su esposa fue atendida en el sitio porque pequeños cristales le provocaron lesiones en uno de sus brazos, pero no fue necesario trasladarla a un hospital. Contó que los dos asaltantes eran altos.
Ruben Ortega, aka Super Chinelo, was a YouTuber who lived a life filled with passion in the vibrant town of Ixtapaluca, Mexico. 45-year-old Ortega was a popular streamer and influencer of the Mexican tradition. In his videos on TikTok and YouTube, you can see him celebrating his hometown's traditions and dances, wearing a distinctive red mask, and attending local events. In fact, he adopted the name Super Chinelo due to his love for a Mexican dance, which originated in Tlayacapan, in the state of Morelos. He would conduct interviews with the sole objective of spreading Mexican tradition to new generations. Ortega's dedication earned him popularity and support from his community, despite his small following. Now, what seemed like a simple life, Ortega actually stepped on some toes in one way or the other, and he paid dearly for it. August 31st, 2022, tragedy strikes moments after Ortega gets out of his vehicle to open the gate to his house while returning home with his family. It's at this point 2 armed guys suddenly step in front of him and open fire point-blank range. Ortega died on the spot. His wife was also injured in the ambush, and their son, who was surprisingly unharmed, witnessed the horrific scene. The neighbors called the police after they heard the gunshots and saw Ortega lying on the ground. The motive behind his murder remains unclear, but some believe it may be linked to his outspoken criticism of corrupt Mexican political groups, as well as cartels. In addition to this, his assassination occurred amid a series of violence in the country caused by drug cartels, as well as other homicides that have nothing to do with the struggle between these groups. The news of Ortega's death spread quickly on social media, leaving his fans and community in mourning. A heartfelt message on his Facebook page confirmed the sad news and expressed gratitude for the support he received. Unfortunately, Ortega's killers remain at large, leaving the community with a sense of unease and a reminder of the dangers faced by those who mess with the wrong cartels as they try to make a positive impact.